All right. So we are live on Facebook. If you're tuning in, this is a special Friday episode of the Geaux Rouge Radio Show. For those who don't know, I have a day job, and occasionally my day job requires me to go to court. I'm a lawyer. And when I'm in court on Tuesdays, I cannot record the radio shows. Surprisingly, judges don't understand me saying to them, but Judge, you don't understand, I host a radio show. And in fact, not only do they not understand it, it generally is a recipe for disaster. So we are doing a Friday episode of the Geaux Rouge Radio Show. I am hanging out with a few folks. I'm going to introduce them real fast. We got Stephanie Possa from the Tyler Possa law firm. We've got Meredith Cooper from Forage. She's doing some flower crowning right now. We got Katie Guitreau and Amy Dighton, co-founders of the Flower Fest. And then we have Andi Berthelot from The Keeping Room. Ladies, how are you guys all doing?
Great. It's Friday.
Good.
Friday. Sorry. That's a good one.
So we're going to be talking today. So while Brian's here. Before we go live, we're going to be talking today about a few things. The first thing we're going to talk about, so if you've watched the show before, Stephanie Possa is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. She's a close family friend. I love her law firm. I love the folks she's practically family. Shout out to Tyler Possa law firm, and Lucy. Shout out to Lucy.
Of course.
Beautiful daughter.
You think she's famous when you say her name on here?
So Stephanie and I have done a lot of events together. Whether it's bigwigs, Franz Borchardt, by the way, still
biggest wig reigning.
Biggest wig, Susan G. Komen.
Absolutely.
Let's see, what else have we done? I got to attend Artemis Ball when Stephanie was queen. We've done some fundraising together. Little known fact about Stephanie. Cure. Brunch for the Cure, large-scale brunch community service project in Baton Rouge. Little known fact about Stephanie Possa. Stephanie Possa loves wings, and I put on a chicken wing festival. So one of the things we're going to talk about, especially since we are easing into a conversation with the co-founders and folks behind Flower Fest, is people are starting to have this conversation of, okay, I used to do this event every year. Like, for example, I got asked a year ago to be on the crew of, the Furball. Yeah. Well, I got asked, really, my dog got asked to be on Furball. and so we had to cancel or postpone that. I know that we've done bigwigs several years. We postponed that a little bit. And so one of the conversations we're going to have, and it's going to segue into the conversation with Flower Fest, is how do you put on an event right now? How do you put on an event that's good for the community, good for attendees, right? But is somewhat like not tone deaf to what's going on around us. We got some stuff going on, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And Stephanie and I are going to talk about what does that look like? What is community service project? So look, one of the things you need to know about me right now is I'm a very vain creature. The worst thing that ever happened in COVID was this whole Zoom thing where I can have a radio show and stare and gaze at myself at the same time. So one of the things I'm noticing, Stephanie, is Best Dressed Ball starting to make social media posts.
They are. They've announced their chairwoman for this year. Super exciting.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another. Get a crown and then Best Dressed Ball are like two of my squad goals. And I'm really not even that best. I mean, I don't even know if I could say with a straight face that I'm a well-dressed human being. I mean, I can be extra. Okay. I do okay.
Some good stuff. You got some good stuff.
So, but shout out to Brown & Brown Clothiers. Yeah. Shout out to Martinez. I do love me a suit. I do love me a good suit. I don't get to wear suits anymore. I don't get to ever wear suits anymore.
Same.
So anyways, so we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to ease on into Flower Fest. So Flower Fest is kind of a thing. Now, we got a lot of great festivals in Baton Rouge. We've got Flower Fest. We've got Singer-Songwriters Festival that's coming up. I've put on a few. Maybe you've heard of them. The Mac and Cheese Fest. Cap City Mac and Cheese Fest, Wingamania, Brunch Fest. I put on a brunch festival once. Brian Haldane is telling us that we're all good on his end. So Brian, give me about 2 minutes and then I will count us down. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Flower Festival. This is, Amy, how many years have y'all done the Flower Festival now?
Big old boop, boop, none. This is our first
So
time.
this is inaugural.
awesome.
This is the inaugural year.
Yeah.
So,
I'm telling myself it's like being at the first Woodstock, but then I'm like, ooh, what was that like? That seems a little.
so I got to tell you, throwing your first festival event in a COVID-19 phase 3 world, it's hot. I like that.
Takes guts.
Yeah.
Good
It takes
luck.
guts.
Well, that's like starting a business
Yes.
whenever, things get a little rough.
I
That's
believe.
when you should do it. When the market is down, that's when you should do it.
Yeah.
So shout out to Laura Sue that reminds
great.
me. Laura Sue Wynn, who's watching on Facebook Live. By the way, we're on Facebook Live right now, ladies. So I hope you've shared this.
You see all the tags, so I wasn't being a rude.
Andy, have you liked the Geaux Rouge page yet?
I have not. My phone's in the back. I know. I'm sorry. I liked it on Instagram, but not on Facebook.
Dude,
So-
Facebook's where it's at. I mean, I don't want to brag. Over 20,000 likes and followers. I don't even know what that means.
Wow.
But I will give a shout out. Last episode, I will give a shout out to Amy, because Amy and Ryan Genevere convinced me to get on Clubhouse. And I was Amy, I think the right word is I was pissy about it, right?
You were like,
I was
"Stop sending me," and I was like, but I gave you one of my invites, and I only have so many, and I can't take it back. So please use it.
I was like, why do I need to be? My life needs less social media, not more.
But it's
My
different.
life needs a little less social media.
It's different.
Yeah, it is. I love it. I love Clubhouse. Stephanie, you're probably not on Clubhouse yet, but it is amazing. So shout out to Amy. We had an episode with Louisiana Entrepreneurs, which is one of the Clubhouse groups that a whole bunch of local business people are Louisiana Entrepreneurs. Kenny Wynn, as well as Natalie Straight from ETEL, and some other folks are doing a club called Louisiana Entrepreneurs, and they were on the show last week. So you guys ready to do an episode?
That one.
Do
You
it.
guys, they're not live yet. They're not live
Okay.
yet. So you guys, I feel like you guys are ready to do an episode. Y'all are ready to do an episode?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna.
That's with Clubhouse. It's my new favorite.
I'm gonna do my Janet Jackson countdown, countdown.
I do the new thing is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Okay. But yeah, remember Rhythm Nation? Maybe I'm dating myself a little bit here.
Do that, Franz. Do that.
Remember the here she goes.
My turn over there.
So yeah, I was a fan of Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation, 80s.
How can you not
In
be?
fact, one of my jams is Janet Jackson's Nasty, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, counting down 5, 4. All right, this is your host, Franz Borkhardt, for another episode of the Geaux Rouge Radio Show. If you're listening on Facebook Live or on Talk 107.3, welcome to the show. We've got a jam-packed episode today. We've got attorney Stephanie Possa from the Tyler Possa Law Firm joining us, as well as the crew that is putting on Flower Fest, the Flower Fest. We have Andi Berthelot from the Keeping Room, Katie Guitreau, and Amy Dighton, co-founders, as well as Meredith Cooper from Forage. It's going to be a good show today. If you want more information about the Geaux Rouge Show, whether it's on-demand episodes or just information about what we're doing, what we're eating, what we're seeing, you can go to www.geauxrouge.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook. We have a YouTube channel. Like, that's crazy. All the episodes get posted there. So if you want to watch on demand, you can do that as well. The other thing is, if you have a show topic, if you're watching this episode and you have a show idea, you can email us at info@geauxrouge.com, info@geauxrouge.com. And if it's a good show topic, we'll put that person on. Amy Dighton does it all the time. Amy just tells me, hey, you're going to put on this person on your show. And I'm like, okay, Amy, whatever you say. Stephanie Possa occasionally does that too, but it's less so Stephanie, more so Amy. So before we jump in, let's thank our show sponsors. These are the businesses and men and women who make the Geaux Rouge Show possible. First and foremost, Sullivan's Steakhouse, your neighborhood steak restaurant. We are going to be having lunch today at Sullivan's. Man, oh man, do they have good food, great happy hour food. I don't know if you've ever had Sullivan's happy hour burger. Oh, it's so good. And then the knockout cocktail for happy hour is also excellent. So special thanks to Sullivan's. Definitely go there and tell them the Geaux Rouge Show sent you. Gulf Coast Title, your premier title company. The Borkart Law Firm, the finest criminal defense firm in the universe. The Borkart Law Firm. That is my lemonade stand. And then last but not least, we got La Divina Italian Restaurant serving custom made from scratch breakfasts on a daily basis. That's actually right next to the keeping room, if I'm not mistaken. La Divina Italian Restaurant. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but you should definitely check out La Divina and then maybe go to the keeping room. I have shopped at the keeping room before. They've got some good stuff that you can have fun with. And then last but not least, one of my favorite sponsors, Dr. G, Dr. Gunja Reina from MD VIP Heal 360. I don't want to brag or anything. I know Brian Haldane is producing the show today, so he can hear what I'm saying, but he can't respond. I don't want to brag, but Franzi Bear is down 38 pounds in a 50-pound weight challenge, and it's all because of Dr. G. Eating healthy, living healthy. Love her to death. It's concierge medicine, which means that I get 24-hour access to my doctor. And in fact, my doctor texts me to see how I'm doing when I get on new medicines. My best story about Dr. G before we jump into the episode is she prescribed me a medicine. I went to the pharmacy. The medicine was going to cost me, I'm not going to name the insurance company, but my great health insurance, it was going to cost me $500. And she's like, you're not paying $500. So she sent me a link to a coupon and the prescription cost me 24 bucks.
Wow.
I posed the question to you, the guests. I posed the question to the listeners out there. How many of you guys have a doctor that tries to save you money?
That's impressive.
Tries to, yeah, right. So shout out to Dr. G. She is a game changer, concierge medicine at MD VIP, located on Blue Bonnet. All right, so let's jump on in. So first and foremost, our first guest for the episode today is former Queen of Artemis, often a guest, regularly a guest. We have Her Royal Highness Stephanie Possa from the Tyler Possa Law Firm. Stephanie, how are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm great. I'm glad it's Friday.
Yeah. So Stephanie is one of my favorite personal injury attorneys. Very, by the way, shout out to Tyler Possa. When we think of personal injury attorneys as a society, some people think of billboards, some people think of people standing on trucks, doing stupid stuff. Tyler Possa is doing it right. In fact, when I think of the kind of law firm that I want to be emblematic of my profession, shout out to Tyler Possa for doing it right.
I appreciate that.
No, absolutely. You guys have earned that. So, I mean, you guys are kind of like the Borkart Law Firm is to criminal law. I mean, just like the gold standard, right? So anyways, so I invited Stephanie Possa because this episode today, this is episode 68 for those who are paying attention. This episode today of the Geaux Rouge Show is about, in part, the Flower Fest, and in part talking about how are we going to throw events in this new world we're living in. So the reason I had Stephanie on is, and Stephanie, I'm going to let you talk about some of the past events that you're a part of, help put on. Stephanie, you are involved in the Baton Rouge event scene, whether it's sashaying down a runway for Best Dress Ball, organizing, implementing, and executing phenomenal citywide fundraisers like Bigwigs. You are in the trenches of putting on events that help the community. So give us a little background of the events you've been involved with, either because you participate in them or you just put them on.
Well, I was Queen of Artemis 1 year, which was a lot of fun. I was a Duchess in KKDL. Bigwigs is a official Komen event and happens all around the country, but Komen approached me several years ago to start one here, and it really grew exponentially over the few years that we got to do it. Always participate in Race for the Cure. You and I, of course, did Brunch for the Cure, other things. I have a hard time saying no, almost to my detriment sometimes. And so one thing about Baton Rouge that's so great is that we have such a community that is so giving, and we like to participate in these kind of things, and we like to do this kind of stuff. And so usually our community here is very receptive to, oh, let's raise money for a good cause or try to help someone. And so I've been involved, whether it's a guest or just going to it. I like to go see and support other people who do stuff like that, because I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing for our community. It's a good thing for who you're raising money for. I think Flower Fest felt really interesting. I would like to be able to come by. I think it's great. But
So
COVID has presented problems. Like, we couldn't do big wigs last year. We were, geared up and ready to go in January, and then COVID hit, and then it was like, well,
Right.
everybody's kind of deer in the headlights, like nobody knew, and the planning of all of that is, it takes a lot of time and effort and resources. And we were really lucky with big wigs that we have so many small, locally owned sponsors and people who support us. I could not go to them with my hand out, and say,
Right.
give me money. It wasn't appropriate. It wasn't, it just wasn't something we were going to do. And so we're going to see a lot of coming up is a lot of like hybrid as we're phasing out of COVID.
So part of the conversation, and if you're watching on Facebook Live right now, you may notice that Meredith Cooper from Forage is kind of doing a thing. Wave at everybody, Meredith. She's kind of doing a thing in the background. She is making a flower crown. By the way, Meredith, I will order 3 flower crowns from you to be picked up later today. We'll talk off air because I need to get one for my wife, my son, and myself. I have to have a flower crown. So one of the things that the conversation needs to be had about is reprioritization.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I would not have prioritized raising money for restaurants. Now I'm all about raising money to help support restaurants. And by the way, restaurants traditionally were the business entities that helped support the other events, either through giving gift cards, either through donating a percentage of the bill to a charity. I would not be surprised, especially with everything, not to bring up LSU, Title IX, all that stuff, but STAR, sexual trauma awareness response, that might be in society's mind now a prioritization because of what we have going on in a national stage. And by the way, we've raised money for STAR before through the Hunks in Heels Fashion Diva extravaganza. I was not the biggest hunk in heels. I am the biggest wig this year or from last year. I believe your uncle, Joe Possa, was the biggest fundraiser.
Hottest hunk.
I was pretty hot.
You were.
I was pretty hot.
You were.
I just wasn't as hot. So I got to get on stage wearing very beautiful heels and do a little performance. It was great.
You had a cape, a light up cape.
So we have I think we're going to see a reprioritization. Whereas, look, people always were okay raising money for cancer.
Of course.
People were always good donating to the food bank and helping feed the hungry. It was hard. It is hard for entities like art galleries, art establishments to raise money. Theater Baton Rouge, one of my favorite nonprofits. It's hard for them to raise money because of the prioritization. Now what we're seeing is kind of a shift in, okay, well, I'm okay raising money for this because this is an immediate need, right? And raising money may in fact just be, hey, go to your restaurant, go to Mestizos or go to La Divina and just eat, right? So I think part of the conversation is, are we still going to see events raising money for the same entities? I think to some degree, your events like Best Dress Ball, I think your events like Big Wigs, I think those are going to stay viable. I had a conversation with Laura Sue, who helps me put on Geaux Rouge production events today, Stephanie, about which charity are we going to raise money for in our upcoming Wingamania event. And I looked at her and I said, if we're going to change the formats to where it's going to be kind of like Restaurant Week, I said, let the restaurants pick who they want to raise money for.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So part of the conversation is who we're raising money for. And part of the conversation is what are our events going to look like? I've attended some events that were hybrid, virtual.
Yeah.
Although I got to tell you, Amy and Katie, co-founders of Flower Fest, if you're listening, I got to tell you, a flower festival virtual doesn't seem like it would work in my brain. I need to smell the flowers. I need to touch them.
Yeah. And outside is
all
good for
that.
COVID too. That's a good,
Outside. Oh, yeah.
that's good. That's, COVID, with that.
So
What I like, Franz, is that like, I think you're going with this concept as well. But one of the things that we've had a lot of discussions, Laura is on the Bigwig steering committee as well. And one of the things that's a big deal to me is I want to take this opportunity to not only raise money for Komen, but to give back to our sponsors in the past that helped us by sending them business. And so a concept that I've got some ideas for this is we want to help those who helped us, and this is a win-win for both. And so I'm working on some things to do that because, we're so appreciative. Small businesses, I mean, the Keeping Room, you guys are a small business. Something like COVID hits, you're not printing invitations anymore and people just aren't buying stuff anymore. And so, from someone, we had started in January, we were ready to roll with bigwigs. Everything was great. Then boom. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And nonprofits got hit really hard, and it was just a tough situation all the way around. And so it was like a catch-22. I'm like, well, no, I can't go to a restaurant and ask them for a donation. I'm just not doing that. But at the same time, but now I think that we're kind of in a good place where we can do some of the hybrid and we can do, hey, we appreciate you. We want you involved to send you business and for people to go there and spend money. And this can be a reciprocal thing as opposed to going, please give us a donation,
So if you've never put on an event before, there are certain things that keep you up late at night. There is, am I going to get enough sponsors to cover my overhead? Am I going to sell enough tickets to actually raise money either for the charity or for, if you're trying to raise money for you, to actually make money? Because nobody wants to work. We all seem to like working for minimum wage, but we all love working for more than minimum wage. And working below minimum wage stinks. So I did the math on one of our early burger events. And if I were to take my hourly, it was a charity event, but if I were to take my hour in, how much time I spent on the entire event versus what we raised, it was just ridiculous. And I was like, no, there's a better way of doing this.
Yeah.
So are you going to have people buy tickets and actually come? Because you need people not just to buy tickets, but you need them to come to the event and have fun, which helps out your vendors and helps out the people who are selling wares. And by the way, here's another component of it. Amy's in marketing. We'll talk in the second half with her about this. You need people to attend so you can take photos of the people attending so that next year when you promote it the next time, everybody can be like, I can't miss that event. I need to go. It's that. Yeah. So there's a lot of different factors. There's the anxiety of, is it going to rain? What happens if it rains?
We don't talk about that. It's not going to rain.
Yeah, we don't discuss rain.
Right. So
there'll be no rain.
as a lawyer, I will tell you, at every single festival or event I've ever put on, I'm just looking around thinking to myself, and this is how, it's not pessimism, it's risk management. I'm like, what little kid is going to chew on a power cord and get electrocuted and sue me?
Yeah.
Or if it's a food event, who's going to eat a chicken wing that they have some kind of weird peanut allergy to because somebody puts peanut butter on a chicken wing, and then they're going to go into anaphylactic shock, and then we're going to get sued. So there are a lot of craziness. And by the way, now the new thing is, what am I going to do? And this is just the society that we're in. What am I going to do that may or may not be tone deaf, that may not only offend people, but cause people to cancel me? That's just an internal thing for me, though. That's just an internal thing. Now, Flower Festival doesn't strike me as a cancel oriented festival. The Flower Fest.
Forage likes flowers, right? Like you can't.
Right. The people that don't like flowers are the kind of people that don't like brunch. Like if you've ever met somebody that doesn't like brunch, ladies, that's the person you're just like, well, there's just something dead inside of you and I can't help you.
Yeah.
Same thing about flowers. Now, flowers, the only people that don't like flowers, allergy people.
Well, there's a difference in not wanting flowers in your home or by you because they'll cause allergies, and seeing beautiful flowers outside.
Yeah.
But also florist flowers are a little different. I think most of them don't have a tremendous amount of pollen. So you're good.
Yeah.
So if you're just tuning in, we've got about 6 minutes left with Ms. Possa. Stephanie Posa's joined the show. We've also got the crew from the Flower Fest, and we're just chatting about events. And look, we're in phase 3. I think you can have what,
250 people in a large space at one time.
So
What's even
Outside, inside, it's 50% capacity or 36 square feet per person. Trust me, I am well versed.
So some of my favorite Stephanie Posa events have been at the River Center or at LaBerge.
Yeah.
So you got a big event complex that can hold 1,000 plus people or more. But like, so look, as much as I want to be on stage sashaying around in a awesome custom-made suit or wearing a Mardi Gras outfit with a huge crown, shout out to Artemis. By the way, I'm angling. That is my goal. Artemis, I'm putting in some legwork on Artemis. Shout out to Queen Missy, as well as my favorite king this year, my favorite king as well. But as much as I want to have those things, I'm willing to wait, right?
I just don't think we're going to see them anytime. I don't think we're going to see big indoor events anytime soon. I just,
right.
For a lot of different reasons, I don't think that's going to happen until next year. That's
right.
my.
And look, Stephanie and I were talking. I've gotten one shot. In a couple of weeks, I get my second vaccination shot. I've already had COVID, so I'm going to be like armored. And I'm still apprehensive because my son, my 5-year-old, who's the cutest little boy ever, like my 5-year-old is the cutest little boy.
He's so cute
on the planet. I'm worried about him getting COVID, even though I know the stat. Look, I'm an irrational human being, right?
Yeah.
Even though I know the stats, Stephanie. So
I know
what we may see is outdoor events, or what we may see is hybrids.
Yeah. Well, that's where the Botanic Gardens has been such a great space, because we've seen people that have had these massive indoor events coming to us recently, which is wonderful, but they've had to completely shift, which I love hearing your side of the story here, Stephanie, because I've only heard it from people that have maybe had, crawfish boils or some smaller things, but these big events, like hearing what y'all are having to go through is eye-opening for me. We're an outdoor space. We always have outdoor events. And so we're a little bit more open to having things right now.
And your place is beautiful, and you have that beautiful building that with the doors that open.
Yes.
But if it rains, even though I know it won't, but that's still an option. If someone is looking at your venue, it's at least there and you can open it all up. That's really
so your venue, for those who are listening, Katie Guitreau with LSU
Ag Center Botanic Gardens.
Thank you. Your venue is one of my favorite
beautiful
venues in the Baton Rouge area. I've never done an event there yet, but I've attended.
We need to remedy that.
Yes,
figure that out.
It is amazing.
Yeah,
and the cost, and for those listening, the cost is incredibly reasonable.
Very reasonable.
So
to come here, it's free.
Yeah, that's why.
To come here and visit, it's free, and we encourage people to come out. We've been, we were, I think, a respite for people during the craziness of COVID, to be able to just escape from the world and do something.
Yeah. And y'all have a park for kids.
Yeah, it's so great. I love to hear that y'all like it, because I never get to meet everyone that gets to come out here, but I love to see that y'all are enjoying our property.
So I can speak for me as someone who's done some outside events. I do a lot of like snooping. One of my favorite places to throw an event is the Baton Rouge Gallery. That green space behind is great. Sometimes, depending on the nature of your event, you may price yourself out because you want to keep your ticket price low, and we'll talk about all that in the second half. But look, we're about out of time for this segment. Stephanie, if people want to get your cell phone and track you, and I'm joking.
Sure.
If people want to get more information about your law firm, where would they go, Ms. Possa?
They're going to go to tylerpossa.com.
All right. Stephanie Possa, former Queen of Artemis, Best Dressed Ball, one of the founders of Bigwigs.
Our firm is also an art gallery. We feature local art, and people come in and browse around all the time and buy artwork, and the artists come in and switch it out. So that's kind of cool too.
So thank you so much for joining us. If you're listening, we had Stephanie Possa in our first segment. Our second segment is going to be the crew from the Flower Fest, a wonderful festival that's going to be coming to Baton Rouge very soon. I'm dead serious about the crown of flowers, or the floral crown. I need 3 of those, 3 today. We're going to have them in the second segment. Before we go, if you want more information about the Geaux Rouge radio show, you want to go to www.geauxrouge.com. And if you have not liked us on social media or on Facebook, my ego is enormous and can stand to get bigger. So the more likes, the more follows, the more my ego grows. It's like the Grinch's heart. It grows. It grows. So we're about to take our first break. Brian Haldane is telling me we got about a minute left. Stephanie, thank you so much for everything you do for the community. I'll get with you later about achieving these squad goals of getting me a crown. Although Stephanie actually did get me a crown through Bigwig. Since I was the biggest wig, I have a crown for biggest wigs, but it's
in fact, you're the biggest wig of all time. You hold, I mean, you raised over $34,000 all by yourself. And
I don't want to brag.
Build it. Yes. So you deserve 2 years of reigning.
So Borkart Law Firm was happy to do that. That is my lemonade stand, mostly criminal defense. By the way, if you want more information about the Borkart Law Firm, you can go to borkartlawfirm.com. That again is my website. So we're going to take our first break. If you're listening, thank you for listening. Share the Facebook Live video. If you're listening on Talk 107.3, thank you for tuning in. And we're going to hit our first break. So this is where we stay quiet for a second until Brian tells us we're clear. Okay, so we're clear.
Good luck, guys. When is the flower?
Thank you, Stephanie.
It's April 3rd and 4th.
I just followed you from the Instagram account on your Instagram, so that way you can see all the stuff.
Yes,
cool.
And Stephanie, you've got to come. We would love
I want to.
I'd love to meet you in person. I mean, the fact that you're in the event scene so much, and I've only been in the event scene for about 5 years now, but I would love to meet with you and chat with you about all the things that you're doing.
No, and look, the first year is always the hardest, and it gets easier every year. And I was so disappointed last year because everything was done in January for bigwigs. Everybody signed up. Everybody was working on their fundraising and all this, and then boom, I was like, no.
I know.
So the best thing,
it really
the best thing about people like Stephanie and myself, Katie, and for anybody listening who's thinking about putting on events, is I will share my successes and my failures. If somebody asks me about something, first of all, Stephanie is somebody you can actually talk to about, hey, we're thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. What do you think? Yeah. And I am the first person to say, hey, that's a wonderful idea. Absolutely do it. And then I'm the same person that says, I thought the same thing you thought. And let me tell you how much of a disaster it was.
I have been there.
Your date is good too. A lot of this is planning around other events when everything gets back in full swing.
So ladies, real fast, I'm going to interrupt. Y'all keep talking. I'm going to go take care of a dog that's going nuts, and I will be.
Is the Baton Rouge calendar gets so inundated with so much.
I know.
That weekend's I think April's a great weekend. They used to do Cancer Ball in April, and then they bumped it back to August. And then we always do bigwigs in July for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, y'all picked a good date because it's it was one of the hardest things, juggling with
picking a date. You're right, and competing with football season, and then you compete with Mardi Gras. See, Louisiana is just such a festival town that you really only have these small windows. And I love what you were saying earlier, how you're thinking about all these ways to give back to restaurants. Because we do our big fundraiser every year is Gourmet in the Garden with Louisiana Culinary Institute, and we fundraise for their students.
They work with us on bigwigs. They're wonderful.
Yeah, they're so
Justin
great.
was a big one. Yeah, they're awesome.
And then we always have, these amazing restaurants that come, just like you were saying, they would come and donate, and bars.
They're so giving.
And a lot of them have shut down.
Never
a
tell
lot
you.
of them have shut down. So now we're like, okay, next year we were planning it for this year. And so we're like, next year, we're not going to take any profits. We are giving every bit of our money for Gourmet in the Garden back to the restaurants.
So,
and
awesome.
I think that's the best way to kind of lift them up. We're like, you get money because that's what they need.
Yeah.
So what is very interesting to me is the way the world works. The restaurants like Mestizos and Bistro Byron's, and that's just to name a few.
They never tell you no.
They never tell you no. And when the poop hit the fan with COVID, their tribes
Yeah.
came out. I mean, Mestizos was a great
Oh,
example.
yeah.
They came out to eat there to support them or to get takeout.
yeah.
And then what's really ironic, Stephen Hightower, shout out to you as well. Emily,
Citigroup. Mhm.
yeah, Emily from Bistro Byron's, as well as Jim from Mestizo. Those same restaurants that love the community and help the community started helping other restaurants.
You're right.
Yeah.
Through help.
They would post
It's
going
amazing.
to other ones. Yeah, I remember Jim
Yeah.
posting that he went to DiGiulio's or what. I mean, like, it's just, they're so supportive of each other and to everyone. And then they started delivering to neighborhoods. So they got creative and they did really well with it. I mean, like,
Yeah.
So
outside
aren't
the
you
box.
glad? Aren't you glad you came on so that we could collectively meet Katie? Because now we have
Yeah.
someone that can link us
Yeah.
to. God, that venue is so awesome, Katie.
It is
I'm not just
awesome.
saying that.
Thank you.
Like,
well, look,
it really is.
I've been
It's
here for 10 years,
underutilized.
and I 100% agree. And as a Baton Rouge native, and I'm not sure if y'all are from this area, but I honestly didn't even realize that it existed until
Right.
I was in school and worked here. And I was like, oh my gosh, the potential of this space. And
It's,
so every year we're growing. We're still not, completely out there to the public, but that's why I love hearing that y'all who are so well connected to the community know about us, because so many people are like, I've never seen this. And I'm like,
So
that hurts my heart.
Posa is connected to the community. I'm just kind of, I'm like the
Yes, but you
Garfield.
knew.
I'm like the suction cup Garfield that's on your car. I'm not really connected. I'm just kind of like, but look, Stephanie, thank you. I will let Stephanie
Thank
go
you.
if you need to
Yeah.
leave.
yeah.
So ladies, you guys, before we shoot, so I have a mini schnauzer. And I am, as you can tell, guys, watching on Facebook, I am filming from my house, COVID-19, so that we could all be in the same. So what's funny is y'all are like, three of you are all together. I do it this way because I'm trying to be conscious of you guys and like not make you come into a radio studio and all this stuff. The only problem with this is my dog, my mini schnauzer, Molly, love her to death, is a freaking spaz. Like,
Have you thought
like there's a garbage person picking up garbage right now, and she is just like losing her minds. And I'm in an enclosed sunroom that is the best acoustical room in the house, and I'm just like, you're killing me, dog. You're killing me.
you
I
can't?
know. Why don't they get it? They just don't get it.
But I was at a meeting the other day and they have a dog, like an office dog, and she was like doing her spaz and freaking out. And once she sat at the table, she was fine. She was like, all I wanted was to just sit here.
So
part of the meeting.
we're gonna go on and count down so we can get you ladies. And by the way, I am not joking. Where's Forage?
So I'm out of my house, and I'm currently looking at a studio space, but I don't want to announce that yet.
Okay, well, you don't have to. I'm talking about coordinating getting, I'm not joking. I need a crown. I've got a date tonight and I want to wear a crown to this date.
You want one or you want three?
He wants three.
Two for
He said he
adults,
wants
two
three.
for adults, two for adults, and then one for a 5-year-old.
Do you have color preference?
My color preference is amazing. Like, make it awesome.
I like these colors. I'm coming in close. We'll
They're
go.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun.
Beautiful.
Perfect. And we'll
So
go a little extra jazzy for your wife.
We'll talk afterwards. We need to count down so Brian doesn't get mad at me. So we're counting down 5.
Enough for the wife.
There are 5 factors. And
All right, welcome back to the second segment of the Geaux Rouge Radio Show. This is your host, Franz Borkart. We are streaming live on Facebook Live and or on Talk 107.3 if you're listening. On Talk 107.3, you may notice that we don't play at our normal noon time. That's because Guarantee Broadcasting and Talk 107.3 sometimes cover LSU events like LSU softball and other sporting events. So if we're not playing at our normal time, we love you still. Doesn't mean we don't care about you. It just means that we're flexible. Being flexible is a good thing. Being flexible in life, good thing. It's a good thing. Like Martha Stewart, it's a good thing. So before we jump into the folks with the Flower Fest, the inaugural Flower Fest in Baton Rouge, we're going to thank our show sponsors. We've got Gulf Coast Title. Special thanks to them. They recently sponsored and showcased the St. Jude Dream Home on one of our episodes. We appreciate their support. Sullivan Steakhouse, your go-to neighborhood steak restaurant in Baton Rouge. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Especially the fact that you can go and eat a socially distanced, safe meal. Definitely check them out for happy hour. They've got the knockout beverages. Ladies, I don't know if any of you have ever had the knockout drink before at Sullivan's. It is something. It's something.
Does it knock
Amy,
you out?
Amy, let me tell you, Katie, it's good. It's good stuff. So we've got the Borchardt Law Firm, the finest criminal defense firm in the universe, La Divina Italian Cafe, serving custom wines, ice cold beer, plus their exclusive sorbet mimosa. You can go to brunch at La Divina and then maybe go to the keeping room afterwards. And then last but not least, Dr. G, my doctor, Dr. Gunja Raina from MD VIP at Heal 360. She has helped me change my life in so many different ways, guys. I'm a big enthusiast. It's concierge medicine. Concierge medicine. It's like 24-hour access. She texts me. If I post something on Facebook of a food that I shouldn't be eating, my doctor like shames me either on the thread, like, why are you eating that? You shouldn't be eating that. Or will send me a text message that is like, I'm watching you. And it's not creepy. It's accountability, right? And I've lost a ton of weight. I've never felt better in my life. Like I'm no spring chicken, guys. I'm no spring chicken, and I'm feeling pretty darn good. I've got a little bit of a pep in my step. So definitely check out Dr. G at MD VIP. Her website is www.mdvip.com/doctor/Gunja All right. So our second half of the Geaux Rouge Show, we welcome some amazing ladies putting on a great event that we have coming up in Baton Rouge. First and foremost, we have Meredith Cooper from Forage. We have Katie and Amy, co-founders of the Flower Fest. Katie Guitreau and Amy Dighton. You guys may have noticed that Amy's been on the show before. We've had Amy on the show before, I think. And then sometimes Amy tells me who to put on the show, which is nice. I like that too. I like being told what to do, Amy. I'm just letting you know that. And then last but not least, Andi, Berthelot. Andi, I don't think we've met in person before. It is great to finally get a chance to have you on the show as well with the Keeping Room. The Keeping Room, guys, great place to buy some stuff. And by the way, customer service there is outstanding. I walked in trying to find a funny coffee mug that was not on display, and the individuals working there not only helped me, but they knew exactly what I was talking about. So ladies, welcome to the Geaux Rouge Show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
so much.
So
we're gonna,
just so Andi doesn't get a ton of messages, Andi is actually not a founder of the Flower Fest. She's our paper sponsor. So we're kind of talking about earlier about all the sponsors and reaching out. I've worked with Andi on numerous projects, and since we weren't going to be reaching out to restaurants, we knew kind of who to not, hit up for sponsorships and who our friends are. We went to them first, and so it was an easy pairing because I've seen all of her invitations for years, and I knew that if we were going to send out some cool flower vibe invitations, she was going to be our girl. So she's here.
So thank you to the Keeping Room, Andi, for sponsoring this great event. We certainly appreciate businesses like yours supporting the community. So, okay, Amy, let's jump in. You and Katie, tell me, what is the Flower Fest? What's the goals? And how did this crazy idea happen?
Would you like to take it, Amy? Because I mean, this was your story, girl.
Yeah, so like usual, you're not the only one that gets random text messages in the morning, Franz. I do that to everyone. So at 8:30 in the morning, I texted Katie, literally like a couple months back, and said, hey, I have an idea. How does this sound? And I wanted to go to her first because she's been my friend since we were 11, and she would tell me straight up, like, that's great, but that's going to be way too much, or no one's going to say yes, or let's put it off for next year. Those kind of, you need to hear it straight kind of comments. And she said, oh my gosh, call me. Like, I want to talk more about this. I spoke with her, and then the next person I texted was right here. I had just recently met Meredith only like a couple weeks back at a Scout Guide event. And I was like, okay, am I crazy? Do you think we could pull something off like this? And her energy on the phone was the same. Like, let's do it. Florist last year had so many events cancel, and their creatives and their artists are kind of like the music industry. They are fresh and ready to get back. Like, they want to find a way to do this safely, but show off their art and their craft. So it really was in one day. Like, I had the 8 o'clock morning idea. By noon, we were on the phone with the Louisiana Florist Wholesale. Like, it literally, the universe just said, yep, sure, everything can work, blah, 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 blah. It all just lined up. And I mean, have we even had that many no's? I feel like it's all yeses.
Everyone wants to be involved.
Yeah.
Mostly yeses. People are itching to get out. And the Flower Fest, you know, has been people, we noticed, you know, at the Botanic Gardens, we noticed how much people needed, or they started working in their gardens again. They started being outside. They started learning about flowers and gardening and growing your own food. And so it was kind of this perfect, you know, idea to come at the most perfect time. And we had no idea that we were even going to get into phase 3. We were, you know, hopeful. But it was this, we said, how can we bring people a beautiful event that's outdoors, that highlights the amazing florists that we have in Louisiana? We want to keep it local. We want to keep this as a supporting element for the industry in our state. And we also want to do something good for a cause that is dear to our hearts, St. Jude, which is who we're raising money for. And so it was kind of like this perfect thing. Amy has been running marketing for many, many years. I've done events. Meredith is a master florist with our other floral lead, Miss Diane, out of New Orleans. And it really came together. And so now we have an event that is going to be on Easter weekend that people can come to, that will have floral sculptures that you can walk through for kids, for adults, if you want to go to the gala. I mean, it's become its own little animal.
It is.
So
I'm a lot to keep up with in general. And this is a lot for me to keep up with, because everyone's just like, wow, this is a lot.
you're extra. It's okay. We know our own. So great charity event outside in a beautiful venue. So give me the virtual tour here. How do I get a ticket? What do I have to do to go? And then once I walk in, what am I going to experience?
I would love to talk about the florist side of things. So this started because we thought, what would be an event that our florists could really use all of their creative juices that have just been stored up over the last year. And so we said, what if we took it really big? And we have gotten together 9 incredible floral teams, and each team is responsible for creating a 12-foot by 12-foot by 12-foot installation. Our theme this year is Louisiana Promenade. Amy kept saying, think about Bridgerton. Think about Bridgerton.
Yeah.
And so we kind of, the space at Point Marie really feels just kind of romantic. And so the Easter weekend sent us on to like a promenade, and we said, well, let's keep Louisiana involved. And so each team is going to be making, I'm going to give a little hint here or there. One team, for example, is doing an enormous pink spoonbill bird out of flowers. So imagine that, like, use your creativity for a minute and think about an enormous pink spoonbill out of flowers.
So like topiaries?
So when you think about topiaries, it's usually like a bush, but these are going to be actual live flowers.
So it's like a installation, like, you know, when you go to a wedding and they've built a structure almost out of flowers, it's like that. So
think about 4,000 flowers like that put together to make a bird.
Awesome.
It's like the parade of roses, but it's sculptures, and it's all coming from their amazing creativity. And there's, you know, the Netflix show, The Great Flower Fight. It was like a hit whenever everyone was in quarantine trying to find things to watch. And it really took off. And there's actually a lot more shows coming up very similar to that. And this is a live version that we're bringing to our state. Nothing like this has ever been done in our state. I'm so excited to show everyone the hard work that our team has been working on the past couple of months. And for tickets, Amy knows all of that. I know that you have got to be there, Franz. We need you and your energy and your excitement. So you've got to attend. You've got to come to the gala.
So how do I get a ticket? How do I go?
So you can go to theflowerfest.com. And what's kind of cool about this event, and when we have been talking with sponsors, is from the marketing side, there's very few events that have a really wide reach. Everyone will say that in their pitches, but ours actually, I think, does. We've got 60-year-old, 70-year-old retirees that have garden clubs that are like, wait, I can come to this really intimate VIP early access and ask questions with these like master florists. And we're like, yes, you can. And then there's people who are like, oh, I can bring my kids and we can have a picnic from 12 to 2 and take a ton of selfies and send them to our relatives. And I'm like, yep. And then the girls who are like, I just want a reason to dress up. All the dresses have dust on them. We've got you too.
So as an event sometimes event planner. So my day job, I'm a lawyer, right? I'd like to think that I'm a decent lawyer. I'm a lawyer. So this whole event thing, I chuckle because it was a lot of self-taught. And one of the funniest things that I laugh at, and you're absolutely right, there are just some events that are not for everybody. I threw a burger charity event once that was clearly a burger charity event. And if you buy the ticket, you get to try like 15 different small burgers. And the emails I got, more than one, I'm a vegan and I don't really eat like meat. So like, is there going to be something for me?
We actually have a vegetarian option just while we have
right.
this.
So mac and cheese festival. Do y'all have gluten-free like noodles? And I'm just like,
or like lactose intolerant. Do you have?
Oh my gosh, I have been. Yes, people have dietary needs. Oh, it's everywhere now, and you know what? It's tough, but you also know it's not a terrible idea to have it already there. You know, to have an option for them.
But it's more, to me, it's more the humor. And look, I'm on a funky, weird diet, right? I'm on a high maintenance diet, but it's also okay. Look, and by the way, if you're watching on Facebook Live. Meredith is making crowns, floral crowns. Can we do one that's a rose kind of themed? Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to go big. I want like the Bacchanalian, like.
Yeah.
And my son like
big one for Shannon. I said, don't make it for Shannon. Make it for him. He wants.
There's only one princess in that relationship. It may not be my wife. So. I like the fact that it's all inclusive. I like the fact that there's going to be a little something for everybody. Kid friendly.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so Easter, the weekend after Easter, right?
Actually, Easter weekend. So
Easter weekend, the Saturday before.
We were trying to figure out what do we want it to do. I was like, I basically said, you know how Macy's Day Parade is on Thanksgiving, and I'm sure there was a ton of naysayers like year one that were like, oh, I have plans, I'm not doing this. Here we are generations later when everyone's like, turn that TV on. It is time to watch it. So that's what we want for the Flower Fest. Easter is spring, it is blooms, it's all of that. And so as this thing grows though, we just want it to be that when you're in Utah and you're bored and you're thinking about the calendar, you go, oh, it's Easter, time to go to the Flower Fest. Like
Exactly.
That's long-term vision.
Long-term goals, but good goals, because, you know, last year during Easter, we didn't have an Easter really. I mean, I'm not sure about y'all's families, but it was basically at home and the celebrations didn't exist. But for this Easter, it's almost like a welcome back to the world event. Welcome back. We're going to celebrate Easter with our families. We're going to have a fabulous event. And yes, to be a part of their culture, I think is a part of the future culture for Easter. The Saturday before, it's not like you have to go on Easter Day. To be a part of that weekend, who wouldn't want to celebrate, you know, in a beautiful way with flowers? It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and we even thought about, so we were like, when we were talking about, wait, so the flowers are not going to be picked up till Monday. Well, I don't want to waste them because ultimately, like, there's no one getting paid on this end too. When you were like, and we have people, like when people plan events, like someone has to get paid. I'm like, who gets paid? We don't get paid. I was like, we need to talk to him about that after this. But no. So on Sunday, we're leaving the structures up because they don't get picked up till Monday. So for people who have planned Saturday or who maybe are a little bit hesitant to get where there could be a few, you know, like 70 something people, even though it's spread out over acres, our Sunday is just the flowers. That's it. Bring your own picnic, bring your camera. There's not going to be food trucks. There's not going to be, you know, music, any of those kind of things. It's just the beauty of the flowers. So do your morning traditions. If you have an Easter egg hunt, or if you go to church, or you do virtual church, or if you just sleep in, or you go to brunch like you like, then you can come look at the flowers, and it's a cheaper ticket, and it still raises.
So let's talk about something you just said. So when I started, my first event was when I run a page called the Baton Rouge Brunches, which is not really active, and it morphed into Geaux Rouge, and I would do citywide brunch events where it was like each restaurant would donate a little bit to a charity, which was easy. Then we started doing in-person events, and I had done like 2 or 3 charity events, and it finally got to the point that my business partner and I were like, you know, it's not that we want to make money off these, but it'd be nice to have a little bit of money in the account. We're not a 501c3. Generally, it was just, we never touched We would cover the overhead of the initial expenses, recoup, and then the rest of the money would go to the charity. And so we did one event. It was the first mac and cheese event I did where we actually were going to take a piece of the action. And I share this with the listeners and you guys because, man, oh man. And like when I say piece of the action, I mean a small piece of the action.
Like one noodle.
And it was like, yeah, really, it felt like a noodle. Everybody lost their minds. It was like, oh, this is for profit. And I can't believe you're doing it. I was just like, and ever since then, we have, I think the Geaux Rouge Productions business has a little bit of money in the coffers just in case we want to do an event and we can front some money. I don't want to touch money anymore.
No.
I don't want to do anything because it's like, heaven forbid, and I'm on my high horse right now, heaven forbid you do something for the community. And by the way, you get compensated just a little bit for it.
Right.
You know, so I don't play in those games anymore, only because it was just like, I never was making enough money from events to do anything. I mean, if I had enough to eat some of the food at the event, I was great.
We looked at this conversation like, okay, we're all going to buy a ticket. Cool. Got it. Clear. Awesome.
Yeah.
We all have to pay for our way, and that's okay. I mean, like, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm like, my money's going to make this event happen. My time is going to make this event happen. Worth it. 100% worth it.
So for me, it became more of, and I tell this to people when I help with events now, or used to help with events, is I do break it down to an hourly, like, okay, what is an hour of your time worth?
Yes.
And if you're going to do something that is you see the ROI, the return on investment, either through the community, either through charitable fundraising, either through little kids smiling and frolicking around at your event, well, then go for it. But if at the end of the event, you're like, man, I didn't have that much fun, it didn't go that well, and if I were to calculate my hourly allotment, I would have made, like third world sweatshop wages, well, then maybe that's not a successful event. Now, before we got about 5 minutes left, Andi.
Yes.
Andi from the Keeping Room. Talk to me about your business, and why did you decide to partner with the Flower Fest or sponsor?
I thought it was a great idea. I think that I love the fact of it's for St. Jude, and also I love Amy. She has always been such a great help for my business. And I love whenever she came to me with it and said, hey, we need help with the invitations and we need help with Flower Fest. Would you be interested in doing signage and all that fun stuff for the paper, the paper signage and everything that we would need at the event? I was like, oh, awesome, I'll do it. I loved it. And it just kind of went from there. And it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. And it's a time to showcase Andi too. That's what, when we meet, like the board meets, we're like, okay, how are we going to make sure our sponsors have the right signage, how many mentions they're going to get, all these things, because what we want is not only for people to be tagging the Flower Fest and being obsessed with it, but for them to, just like our friend Tia did, when that invitation came through her door, she literally made my runner go back in and do it again so she could get a boomerang of it to share. I just got a hand-delivered invitation. Oh my gosh, the world is opening back up. It made her day. And we couldn't do those things without people like Andi. Like Iverstein Farm, they're donating all the meat. Yes. Like when I texted him, our caterer said, yeah, good luck getting the meat donated. And I said, I know exactly who to call. Like, you just know these friends that we've treaded the waters together recently through, 2020.
Exactly. And the community supports one another. And that's, I loved what y'all were talking about earlier, Franz, how as you throw every single event in, and you have to make sure that you sell enough tickets, that you have enough to give, that, all of the boxes are checked, that the people feel like their ticket price was worth it, that they have fun, that our sponsors get, enough face time and all of these things. And what's so great, and what I've seen, the culture that has a slight culture shift, I think, because, I've been doing events as well for a few years. And this past couple of months working with these local businesses, everyone is like, yes, let's all do it. Let's be a part of this. Let's work together. And, that was always pretty present in Baton Rouge, but even more now than ever, our city is so fantastic. I mean, our business owners in this city are so fantastic. I'm so excited that we're all going to come together, and y'all will see that firsthand. You'll be able to witness all of these businesses together when you come to the Flower Fest. It's going to be amazing.
So we've got about a minute left. What's the website for ticket purchasing? One more time.
Yeah, theflowerfest.com.
Theflowerfest.com. If you are with us, you have been listening to Andi Berthelot from The Keeping Room, Katie Guitreau and Amy Dighton, co-founders of the Flower Fest, as well as the very talented Meredith Cooper from Forage. We've been talking about the Flower Fest. Certainly, let me know what I can do to help you guys out, whether it is just buy a ticket, whether it is to help you guys promote. I think this is going to be a huge success. It has a great charity component to it. It has a great vibe to it, great energy. I'm a plant guy, by the way. For those who don't know, I am a succulent plant guy, and I'm like the crazy plant dude. Like, you know how people have cats? I got a lot of
Plant people are crazy. They're just as crazy.
But succulents, you want to go succulents because succulents, they like to be neglected, and I'm very good at neglecting things. So with that being said, that's about it for this episode of the Geaux Rouge Radio Show. You've been listening to your host, Franz Borchardt. We're on Talk 107.3 as well as Facebook Live on the Geaux Rouge page. After the episode, I will upload this bad boy to the YouTube channel. We have a Geaux Rouge YouTube channel, and as well, you can find it on www.geauxrouge.com. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Ladies, thank you guys.
Thank
Thank you
you
for having us.
Time. And Meredith, I will I'll holler at you about these crown. I'll get a crown today. I'm so excited.
We're getting a crown.
All right. From us to you, have a great week, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
All good. Okay. So let me know what I can do to help. Amy, I don't get mad that Amy texts me at insanely early in the morning.
But you're not the
Amy,
Laura, you talked about earlier. I text her really. I text people the minute my brain cell goes there.
So here's the thing, and I'll end on this note. Here's the thing. I've got a trigger nervous tick, whatever you want to call it. I will text people at insane hours. I get texted at insane hours because of my day job and because of events and everything. But what I need the, hey, Franz, how are you doing? I need that small little foreplay before you either tell me what I'm going to do, ask me. Andi, is it too much to ask to be like, hey, how are you doing? Amy's all business, man. Amy's like, and I'm just like, it's Saturday morning and I'm drinking coffee and I haven't even finished my first coffee. Maybe sometimes I need an emotional hug. Maybe that's what's going on.
You need a text hug, it sounds like.
Yeah. Because I'm like straight to the point. Like,
because I've had people literally text me like after our surgery, hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing well. That's so great. And all they need. I'm like, okay, so you really didn't care what I was doing. You just needed something. So I feel like I'm one of those people that's just like, boom, this is what I need. But today I said that to one of our floors. Said, hey, can you do an Instagram takeover? And then I was like, and also good morning.
And also, hey.
Because I was like, I don't
all
know.
All good. I do enjoy teasing Amy. And for what it's worth, if she's listening, Laura Sue, I do the same thing to Laura. But Laura has now gotten conditioned to where she texts me and you can hear her bright, Franzi, how's this going?
Yeah.
By the way, I need you to do this. I'm like, okay.
I'll start sending you a novel of love and then everything I need. I can do that. I can
write a sonnet or a poem, maybe a haiku.
So sometimes in my journey, this is really the end, and I'm gonna let you guys go. So I get messages at 9:00 at night from referrals. Hey, can you talk? And at 9:00 at night, I'm thinking, what? Oh my God, Andi's about to get arrested. She needs help. It's an emergency. Then it's like, hey, I've got this thing in 4 months and I was wondering, what do you think about this as a lawyer? And I'm just like, is this an emergency? And they're like, no, not really. And I'm like, so you realize I do this job like from 7:30 in the morning until 7:30 at night, like 12 hours a day. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, if you're not on fire, I don't want to talk to you at 9:00 at night, you know? Andi, I know for the record, Andi will not get arrested. I don't know. I mean, maybe in Andi's life journey, she has done stuff to get arrested.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know where Andi's been. I don't know. Meredith definitely, look, Meredith's wearing a flower crown. There's no way she's getting arrested.
No, she's too sweet. She's so sweet.
Ladies, I'm going to turn off Facebook Live. Hold on. Don't go anywhere yet. Facebook, y'all have a great day. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.